Well, it's October, and you know what that means for all you horror movie fanatics out there. Yes, it's that time to crawl from under the grave as we conjure up some of the classic horror movies and our favorites for you to feast on this Halloween. Watch your back because Extra Butter Please is up next. Welcome to another edition of Extra Butter Please. I'm your host, Gina B. Well, 'tis the season. No, not that season quite yet, but 'tis the season for ghosts, ghouls, goblins, zombies, and serial killers. If you fall into one of those categories, hopefully not the latter, then you'll enjoy some of our picks on what to watch this holiday season. Starting with the OG classic, simply titled Halloween.
I saw the boogeyman.
Well, I'm here tonight. I'm not about to let anything happen to you. What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Now, this is the Cadillac Coupe de Ville of horror films. It's been over 44 years since it premiered, so let me take you down memory lane a little bit. Directed and scored by John Carpenter, the 1978 film centers on a mental patient named Michael Myers. We all remember Michael, who was committed to a sanitarium for murdering his babysitting teenage sister on Halloween night when he was only 6 years old. Do you guys remember that? 15 years later, he escapes from the mental hospital and returns to his hometown where he stalks a female babysitter and her friends. Now, while he's running around town killing people, his psychiatrist is always about one killing behind him in trying to capture him. Halloween spawned a film franchise comprising of 13 films which helped build an extensive backstory for its antagonist, Michael Myers. Now, stay with me right here because it gets a little confusing. The 11th installment, which serves as a direct sequel to the original film, erases all the previous sequels. So Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, never was his sister. The cult of Michael Myers is gone, and we can forget about the one-on-one showdown with Busta Rhymes.
Let's see what you got.
You guys remember that Busta Rhymes? The 2018 reboot Quill was followed by two direct sequels, Hollywood Halloween Kills and the upcoming Halloween Ends.
Maybe the only way he can die is if I die too.
And I hope it really ends. As Halloween is widely considered to be the film that popularized and brought the slasher genre into mainstream, let's take a look back at the film that most would say actually started the subgenre. The 1960 film Psycho, produced and directed by the legendary Alfred Hitchcock and starring Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh. Now, this movie centers on an encounter between the on-the-run embezzler Marion Crane, played by Leigh, and a shy motel owner, Norman Bates, played by Perkins, in which a private investigator and her sister investigates her disappearance. Psycho is now considered one of Hitchcock's best films and is arguably his most famous work. It has been praised as a major work of cinematic art by international film critics and scholars due to its slick direction, tense atmosphere, impressive camera work, and a memorable score and iconic performances.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
As Psycho and Halloween ushered in a new era of slasher films, Scream is the film that is highly credited for revitalizing the genre when it had all seemed to be dead in the mid-90s.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Written by Kevin Williamson and directed by horror maestro Wes Craven, Scream tells the story of a high school student and her group of friends who become the targets of a mysterious killer in a Halloween costume known as Ghostface.
Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
Now, Scream was well known for poking fun of the cliches of the slasher genre.
Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
Get another beer, you want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
Well, we can't talk about cult classic slashers without putting A Nightmare on Elm Street on the list. Another classic that made you scream and laugh all at the same time, with the main creepy character, my man Freddy Krueger, throwing out one-liners like a comedian hosting SNL. Take a look.
If food don't kill you, the service will.
A Nightmare on Elm Street premiered in 1984 and was written and directed by Wes Craven. The first installment of the Elm Street franchise starred Robert Englund and as Freddy Krueger and Johnny Depp in his film debut. Can you remember? That's Johnny Depp. Now, for all of you who don't know the backstory of Freddy Krueger, he was an insane child murderer who killed 20 children but was released on a technicality. Those damn technicalities, and then burned alive by the victims' parents that lived on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street is another Scream flick that has a bunch of promiscuous teenagers being killed off by a crazy man in their sleep. Freddy became a pop culture hit and got rave reviews, spawning a franchise consisting of 6 sequels, a television series, a crossover with Friday the 13th, and a remake of the same name. Don't go away. I'll be back with more of our top horror flicks after this quick break.
It's so sad. It's not.
Welcome back to Extra Butter. So if you haven't started your scary movie marathon yet for the month, we made a list of some favorite creepiest movies to watch. So I'm taking you back in the vault with this one. Phantasm. Now, this movie was scary back in its day. It hit the big screen in 1979, but I think it can still create some jitters in you. This science fantasy horror film is about a small town where the people start dying under strange circumstances. And then out of nowhere, this tall, spooky mortician guy would show up. He would take the bodies, not to the graveyard, but turn them into dwarf zombies. Yes, dwarf zombies. Phantasm was written, directed, and photographed and edited by one man, Don Coscarelli. Take a look.
Okay, I believe you.
What we gotta do is lay that sucker out flat and drive a stake right through his goddamn heart.
Phantasm was locally financed. The cast and the crew were mostly amateurs and aspiring professionals. Though the initial reviews were mixed, later the film became another cult classic and went on to have 4 sequels. So we all know that Jason, the antagonist in Friday the 13th, is still alive and probably will never die. Matter of fact, I think he has a cameo in the new Halloween Ends movie. So you can't go wrong with picking one of the Friday the 13th movies. Even though it was not considered a horror film, Poltergeist is another fan favorite with my crew, which has a pretty good storyline. Now, it's about an average family who moves into a new house when they soon find out they are not alone, so to speak. Well, things really start to jump off when the youngest child gets snatched by their creepy new housemates. One of the best sequences in the film is when a pint-sized exorcist is called in. Now, don't be fooled by her petite size because she is kicking butt and taking names.
This house is clean.
Now, I didn't see this next pick when it was in the theaters, but it made our scary movie lineup. Jeepers Creepers. It was a surprise flick for me. I didn't know much about it, but it most definitely scared the hell out of me. It started off pretty tame. Then he appeared, flying through the air, snatching people up like Beam Me Up Scotty. Why don't these characters ever die? You can get creeped out with 2 sequels, and a 3rd remake is due out this year. Don't go away, Extra Butter. We'll be right back.
If you're buzzed and doing this to make yourself feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive.
Let's take a look back at a cult classic film from 2006 that took the horror genre by storm and is still regarded as one of the better horror films of the last 20 years. The Descent is a British horror film written and directed by Neil Marshall. Now, the film follows 6 women who entered a cave system and struggled to survive against the humanoid creatures inside. It premiered in the 2006 Sundance Film Festival and was released that same year in the United States. The film received positive reviews and was a box office success, grossing over $57 million. Now, in 2016, Train to Busan elevated the zombie genre to the likes we haven't seen since. It's highly regarded as one of the best zombie films ever, with its great character work, gripping tension, and harrowing action that will leave you emotionally spent by the end of its runtime. Now, this South Korean action horror film mostly takes place on a high-speed train from Seoul to Busan as a zombie apocalypse suddenly breaks out in the country and threatens the safety of the passengers. If you haven't seen this, seek this one out. You won't be disappointed. Well, the zombie apocalypse doesn't always have to be so intense and scary. We also can have some fun in the apocalypse. Let's take a look at a couple of zombie comedies you might enjoy. Shaun of the Dead is a 2004 zombie comedy film directed by Edgar Wright and written by Wright and Simon Pegg. Pegg stars as Shaun, a down-and-out salesman in London who is caught in a zombie apocalypse with his friends. Zombieland, you guys remember that one, is a 2009 American zombie comedy film that follows a geeky college student making his way through a post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse. That's a mouthful. Meeting 3 strangers along the way and together taking an extended road trip across the southwestern United States in an attempt to find a sanctuary free from zombies. Sounds a little familiar. Okay, enough with zombie talk. I need to take a break. Don't go away.
If you love them enough to crawl into a place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
We have a few films here where our protagonist gets caught up in some sticky situations where they may or may not be able to get themselves out of. Take a look.
There's someone out there.
The Strangers is a 2008 American psychological horror film that follows Kristen and James, whose stay at a vacation home is disrupted by 3 masked criminals who infiltrate the home. Ready or Not is a black comedy horror film that follows Grace, a newlywed who is haunted by her spouse's wealthy Satan-worshiping family as part of a wedding night ritual. I don't know, that stuff sounds a little familiar to me. Get Out, the 2017 psychological horror film directed by Jordan Peele, follows a young black man who uncovers shocking secrets when he meets the family of his white girlfriend.
Rose, we gotta go.
Is everything okay?
Rose, the keys. Just get the keys.
I don't know where they are.
Rose?
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
Mine is a terrible thing to waste. Terrible thing to waste.
Now, no comment. Well, I hope you take a peek at some of our scary picks. We want to hear from you. What have you been watching? Email me at that email down below, extrabutterplease1@gmail.com. And see you next time on Extra Butter Please.